Hello everybody, it is No Chill MMA, and today we are building the perfect UFC 322 card, the UFC 322, and I already have the main event in the thumbnail, but we're going to discuss it, break it down, put our predictions, build the card up, and let's get right into it. Of course, the headliner and the A side of this fight, and I mean the A side, dude. His opponent has nothing on him. This is the pound for pound number one in the UFC, better than John Jones, better than Sean Combs, even better than John Holmes. I'm talking about Jacques Della Maddalena, Giacomo, the Italian-Australian welterweight champion, just put an absolute ass whooping on Belal Muhammad. You know, Unc Belal. Now he's going to be fighting the nephew. Main event of UFC 322 in Madison Square Garden, New York. I am, of course, making the super fight. I mean, it's already bound to happen. It's pretty much signed for 322. Islam Makhachev. My god, this is such a big fight. Okay, this is a massive fight. Makhachev and JDM. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm picking Jack Della Maddalena. I picked him over Belal. I'm never picking against him ever again, ever. JDM gonna absolutely mollywop Islam Makhachev, or maybe not. But either way, this is like one of the biggest fights that the UFC could put on. It's like top 3 biggest UFC fights possible. This is the highest skill level UFC fight the entire year. JDM could actually be number 1 pound for pound with the win. I mean, the guys just look unstoppable. Belal Muhammad whooped his ass. Islam Makhachev, I bet he's gonna whoop him. I bet he's gonna knock Islam out. He's gonna look incredible. The dude went from pulling 55 guillotines on Basile Hafez to just out-scrambling, out-wrestling, using get-ups, and, you know, ultimately battering Belal Muhammad on the feet. He has Craig Jones in his corner. He has that Dagestani style kind of figured out, hopefully. He just took on Belal, so this should be a really good camp. His striking is already really good. There's, like, Islam Makhachev's wrestling is probably better than Belal's, but if he could defend that well, and Dustin Poirier could defend that well against Islam Makhachev, I like this fight for JDM. Massive main event. I mean, this is huge. Co-main event. A lot of people probably predict this, but boy, would this just be so complimentary to JDM versus Makhachev. This would be a really good fight. Another title fight. So 5-round welterweight championship, and then 5-round flyweight championship in the co-main event. Alexandre Pantoja. He's not boring. He's definitely not boring. He's super good. And he has some great fights. That Usyk fight was incredible. The Asakura fight was incredible. The Kai Kara France fight, the Blitz into the takedown. I mean, those were really good. But he's just like, he's not the most marketable champion. And I feel like putting him in this co-main event spot, it helps because everybody's looking forward to this fight. Not really because of Pantoja, but because of his opponent. But a lot of people are like debating if Pantoja could have a better legacy than Mighty Mouse, so I guess it helps. You guys already know, no surprises. Joshua Van and Pantoja, 5 rounds for the UFC Flyweight Championship. My God, I love this fight so much. I mean, Van is just like, that is taking your chance and just riding with it, believing in yourself, betting on yourself. These are 2 massive fights. We're going to give you a massive feature fight, and these 3 fights are so big that I'm like wanting to save like money, resources with the rest of this card. I like Pantoja in that fight, unfortunately, but if Joshua Van does win and he's champ at like 24 or 23, holy shit, that would be so incredible. There's still so many fights for, like, it's just like Pantoja's fought everybody, and he's kind of older. If Van wins, man, Van Urseg, Van Moreno, holy shit. I mean, Van versus Kopp. I'm even like Van versus Figgy, if that's possible one day. Holy crap, that would be an amazing fight. Van is incredible, and I hope he wins, but I'm going to be going with Pantoja. Still a massive fight. Now, I like to do number 1 contender title eliminator fights on the same day as the title fight. Why? Because this makes a pay-per-view for you. It just sets up a pay-per-view for you. Okay, now obviously the number 1 contender right now, if Makhachev had to pull out, there's one guy we're inserting there, and that's Sean Brady. Sean Brady is deserving. He's absolutely destroyed Leon Edwards, finished Leon Edwards. Usman couldn't do that. Bilal couldn't do that. JDM hasn't fought Leon Edwards, but he's gonna fucking finish Islam Makhachev. God bless JDM. Sean Brady, though, super impressive wrestler. I mean, everybody's talking about Fluffy Hernandez because that was more recent, it was more dominant. But let's not forget Sean Brady had a very similar performance against a way higher level fighter than Roman Dolidze and Leon Edwards. I mean, he beat him on the feet. He beat him on the feet too, using that same. I mean, exactly like Fluffy, man. Those straights, some very good boxing. He looked very fluid. Now, I really wasn't sure who I was going to put in this spot because there's so many guys at welterweight that are just like one like step away from that conversation. And originally, I didn't want to do this, but then I was like, well, if he does win and we get this guy versus Jack, that would be incredible. Brady versus Jack, Brady versus Makhachev would be incredible. This guy versus Makhachev would be good because Ireland versus Russia always sells. I wasn't originally thinking we should give it to Ian Garry because he did lose to Shavkat, but Shavkat's hurt. Shavkat's hurting. I mean, I don't know when Shavkat's going to be back. I think Shavkat can fight sometime next year. But Ian Garry versus Sean Brady. And if Sean Brady wins, man, and JDM wins or Islam wins, Sean Brady, the USA fighter versus whichever one of those, main event of the July 4th card, shit, sign me up. Sign me up. Ian Garry versus JDM stands alone really well as like two. So does Makhachev versus Garry. I just like was kind of looking at the welterweight division and the best matches out of all. And you know that Garry and JDM have like a crazy rivalry. JDM says Ian Garry's kid isn't even his. He's gonna be talking about that shit, and it's gonna sell. Between all of the guys in the welterweight division, between these four would be the best fight. Would be like the most making sense main events. I like Ian Garry versus Sean Brady. Now this has three. Okay, and I'm making it 5 rounds. 5 round Sean Brady, Ian Garry. So 3 5-round fights. Pantoja Van, Della Maddalena Makhachev, Brady versus Garry. Take my $9.99 on Paramount. Well, really, it's still gonna be a pay-per-view, so I'm just not gonna buy it legally. But still, incredible fight. And the rest of this card, we're going to try not to use too many giant names. We need to save them for later. We need a lower budget because these are massive matches. Daniel Rodriguez. I'm not really the biggest Daniel Rodriguez fan. I think I made that pretty clear in my live reaction. When he beat the crap out of Kevin Holland, I got so fucking mad. But either way, Daniel Rodriguez, he deserves a pay-per-view spot now. Put him in the 4th fight down. It's fine. We want to give him a New Yorker, a guy who can maybe beat him, have that moment in his hometown. And we're going to see a lot of New York tri-state guys in this one. Randy Brown, right outside of the top 15. These two are going to box. It'll be a really fun fight. Just want fun fights, like great the rest of this card, it's just great stand-up fights. Like, the quality of this card would be amazing. Daniel Rodriguez, Randy Brown, that's a good fight. Now, this one doesn't really have to do anything thematically with New York. It's just a good stand-up fight between ranked guys that aren't like too high up that I feel like could be a knockout. Volkan Oezdemir hasn't fought in a while since that Olberg loss, and I feel like he needs something. Let's give him Alonzo Menifield. Alonzo Menifield's just going to come forward, try to take his head off. Volkan Oezdemir has giant power. Menifield hits pretty hard too, so I like this one. That's a good main card. I mean, that's a fantastic main card. Della Maddalena, Makhachev, Pantoja Van, Garry versus Brady, and then Rodriguez, Brown, Oezdemir, Menifield. Very acceptable. That's a good card. It's a solid card. It's pretty comparable to like UFC. I mean, maybe not as good as UFC 319, but just because of like it was so crazy results. But like name value wise, it's like right there, maybe even a little bit better. Great card. Like this one a lot. And bro, I feel like the New York crowd's gonna go crazy, especially when I reveal these prelims. Main event of the prelims, Nazim Sadykov. This guy has a shit ton of momentum behind him right now. I mean, he just absolutely took the head off of Nicholas Mata after an incredible back and forth war. There's a guy who had to pull out of his UFC 319 fight that's looking for something. He's hungry and he needs it now. And boy, does this fight make sense. And man, I might be more excited for this fight stylistically than anything else on this entire card. Carlos Diego Ferreira and Nazim Sadykov as the featured prelim on UFC 322. You want a fight that's not like a giant name value fight, because so much spotlight is going to be on Della Maddalena, Makhachev, Pantoja, Garry versus Brady. So these fights, I want guys that like won't be having their light taken away from this giant main card, but will actually just like benefit from it. Dude, if Sadykov knocks out Carlos Diego Ferreira, man, that'd be huge. That would be so big, and he would probably get a top 15 fight. Man, I love that fight stylistically. New York crowd will go crazy. Alonzo will be represented again in this video. You'll see it. Next up, third fight on the UFC prelims. Chepe Mariscal. This guy's 5-0 in the UFC, but we're relegating him to fight nights. Like, it's not like he's boring. We're relegating him to fight nights. The dude is 5-0. He deserves a pay-per-view slot. Now, it kind of sucks because we can't justify giving him like a main card, and we can't justify giving him his own fight night. So a UFC pay-per-view prelims where he belongs. Tri-state guy, let's match him up with Pat Sabatini. Pat Sabatini is on a 2-fight finish streak. Chepe Mariscal 5-0 in the UFC. This is the fight that either of them need to really break out, especially for Chepe. But if Chepe's momentum is broken, having it be like done in friendly territory for Sabatini would be good for his career too. Second on the prelims. Okay, Mariscal, Sabatini, yeah. Drew Dober, the Big Bear, the Lion. Alright? The Big Dog. We're not going to give him Michael Johnson. I was thinking about it. We're giving him a fight that he's going to be projected to lose, and he's projected to lose this fight for reasons I can't really tell you, but Jared Gordon just beat Thiago Moises. He's very deserving of this fight. He's from New York. He's very, very deserving of like a little bit of a name value step up from Moises. Because Moises is kind of had a little bit of a fall off. Dober, he's kind of having a fall off too, but he's still a pretty big name. And if Dober does get the win, gets his momentum back, that'd be huge. Jared Gordon's wrestling would be neutralized by Dober's wrestling defense. It would play out on the feet. I would favor Dober to get the knockout, even though he's older, not on a good streak right now. But this would be a very exciting fight. Dober versus Gordon. Now, I can't leave UFC 322 in Madison Square Garden without a New York, New Jersey fight. That's what I want. Something New York, New Jersey. We got to get that. So making his return after a win over Trevor Peek. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic fighter. I'm going to be going with, to open up the prelims for UFC 322, Charlie Campbell. And boy, am I giving him a step up. New Yorker Charlie Campbell. Who from New Jersey can we call? A big name from New Jersey that could step up and fight Charlie Campbell in the lightweight division? There is only one. And that one is Jim Miller. Jim Miller just lost to Chase Hooper. Before that, he had a win, I believe. Then it was the Bobby Green loss. But this fight is fantastic. Campbell versus Miller. Both of these guys would really deserve a spotlight. Jim Miller's put in the work where it's like, yeah, he's coming off a loss, but you could just put him on a Madison Square Garden UFC paper. I mean, dude, he's had 100 UFC fights. Charlie Campbell, look, the UFC haven't really done a lot for this guy. I think he got hurt last year, been away for a little bit. But man, this would be an emphatic return, especially with a win opening up the prelims for UFC 322. Campbell versus Miller. Now, the featured early prelim, okay? I want to give my guy a shot. There is a fighter at Serra-Longo who's not in the UFC, snubbed from Contender Series for whatever reason. He's 10-0, got a big fan base. I'm talking about Fumi Nakata. Fumi Nakata is a very fantastic flyweight fighter from New Jersey, trains in New York City at Serra-Longo. I would love to see him debut. He is a flyweight, and so I was really struggling to find him an opponent because I didn't want to give him somebody who's a bum. So the guy that I'm giving him doesn't have a lot of name value, but he did win Road to UFC. Dong Hyun Choi, a 9-0 fighter versus a 10-0 fighter. Don't know a lot about Choi, I'm not gonna lie, but this is a good fight to close out the early prelims. Could give Nakata a good spotlight. Overall, imagine you start out with Miller Campbell. That's a war on the feet. Dober Gordon, that's a war on the feet. Mariscal Sabatini, you don't know what's gonna happen in that fight, man. Sabatini's got a good shot. But Mariscal, that could be his breakout fight. Sadykov versus Ferreira has me salivating. Volkan Oezdemir, that's going to be a knockout. 100%. Rodriguez versus Brown, that's going to be a fight on the feet. Garry versus Brady, 5-round welterweight title eliminator on the same card. The presser probably would be pretty good because you got Della, Maddalena, and Makhachev talking shit. Ian Garry's gonna try to like chime in, insert himself into that title picture, try to take over the press conference. I don't know if Brady's gonna talk a lot of shit about Garry. I don't think Brady probably likes Garry, but these two Irish boys gotta be fighting for that #1 contendership. Pantoja versus Van, that is a fantastic fight, so well deserved. I hope Van sleeps him, man. And Pantoja probably would deserve a rematch. It's just like, I really like Van. Della Maddalena versus Makhachev speaks for itself. The #1 pound-for-pound fight in the UFC. Guys, this is my UFC 322 predictions, card builder, breakdown. Oh, wait, let me give you some predictions. Della Maddalena, Pantoja. It's hard. Brady, Randy Brown, Oezdemir, Sadykov, Mariscal, Dober, Campbell, and Nakata would be my predictions. UFC 322. Guys, like, subscribe, comment, and share. I will be back streaming Friday. I am not streaming right now. But we got the UFC 323 card coming out. And that one is going to be the December Las Vegas card. And it's going to be a really good one. Peace out. See you guys then.